The exoneree that I had was Carlos Marcos Laverna. In August of 1984, Carlos, who is a Cuban immigrant, was arrested for rape of a 21-year-old. Cops later tried to connect him to several other rapes and labeled him as a serial rapist. The rape of the 24-year-old took place on July 2nd, 1983. The woman was going for her daily jog in the afternoon through Barton Creek Greenbelt in Austin, Texas. When walking east from her apartment, she walked past a Hispanic man who she later described to police that was wearing a maroon shirt, maroon polyester pants, and was 5'6". She also described him to be in his early to mid-20s. After jogging half a mile, she decided to turn around and go back home when all of a sudden the same man that she had saw appeared behind, put a knife to her throat, to then drag her off the trail that they were on. She was forced to perform oral sex, to then forced on her hands and knees and struck behind the back of her head where she was sexually assaulted. The evidence that they used to convict Carlos was that the woman, the victim, had identified Carlos in a lineup and later testified in court that he was the only one that resembled the police's sketch. An analysis also testified that Carlos's DNA matched the blood groups of both the victim and Carlos. Carlos served 15 years in prison. The evidence used to exonerate Carlos was DNA testing done in 2000s by comparing his DNA to the DNA found in the victim's running shorts and also swabs from the rape kit that they did. Carlos was released November 29th in 2000. I can't find what Carlos is doing now, but in an interview in the early years of being released, he did say that ever since then, he can't stop dreaming of it, and that he dreams way too much about it. The TED Talks and the stats relate to this case because the stats talk about how people are racially misidentified, and Carlos was one of those people that happened to be misidentified because he was a Hispanic man. The connections I made between my case and the lessons that we have done in class is that eyewitnesses aren't always trustworthy. People put way too much trust into their eyes and what they think they saw. If I were to have to defend Carlos in today's world, I would say that testing would have been needed to be done a lot more than just the one test and by multiple scientists and analysts, but also that one eyewitness isn't enough and can't just convict somebody off an eyewitness and what somebody thought they saw.